bullshit. No bullshit. No bullshit.
Oh my, let's just did breaking news. No more bullshit. No more bullshit.
No bullshit.
All right. No Bullshit News Hour, July 10th, 2020. The only hour of news you need this week. Let's face it. Let's just boil it down. No puppies. Serious stuff. I'm going to be honest. I called my wife, Karen, and I said, am I even doing the right thing here? I don't even know. You know what I mean? It's,
Charlie,
Yeah.
don't second guess yourself, man. You
I'm a
are
human.
doing the right thing. You are.
well, look, I don't mean to be a downer, but I just think you guys need to know this stuff. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna go over Gretchen Whitmer's answers on the Fox 2 town hall this week, because we didn't really get any answers on that town hall. It was pretty light in the information she was kicking out. So I'm gonna give it to you because it's important that we have the answers, because we're in the middle of a pandemic and I want the answers. We deserve them. And I am really, really happy to have on probably the most interesting cop I've ever met. Ira Todd, the senior interrogator for the Detroit Police Department. He's recently retired, 35 years on the job. He did Gang Squad. He's got a TV show on Stars called The Wrong Man.
Did you hear that?
He was charged with murder himself on the job.
He's legendary, Charlie.
He is.
He is.
He's going to come and talk the real, because we're not going to talk to experts. We're going to talk to the real. We got a war in the streets, Karen. Another
Yeah, and it looks like we're losing, Charlie.
quintuple shooting last night. Not to the great shame. Nothing in the media. That's the third quintuple shooting, third mass shooting in Detroit in a week. So that's the news. But first, I want to say, No Bullshit News Hour is brought to you by the World's Strongest Coffee.
Hey.
I love World's Strongest Coffee, dude. Go to deathwishcoffee.com/Drew and use the code Drew15. Deathwishcoffee.com/Drew. Put in Drew15 and get 15% off the entire order.
Yeah. It's charged pa. It's the world's strongest coffee, they say.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to try that. I saw the billboard, so I'm glad they're on board. I'm going to give it a shot. I like coffee.
So what's the website, Karen, real quick?
I will do that.
Deathwishcoffee.com/Drew. Drew15 is the code.
For 15% off. I'll give it a shot. Thank you, Charlie.
The No Bullshit News Hour is also brought to you by the world's strongest financial wealth advisor, Luke Nowacki, who reminds you, if you're not the mayor's son getting hooked up with the Biden campaign, right? If you're not that, if you have to work and you have to save, you need to start working at not working now, looking after your money. You call Luke Nowacki, 248-663-4748. Grow your assets, annuities, individual retirement accounts, college savings. If you're getting that stimulus check, maybe you're going to play casino. Talk to Luke. Make that call now. Your politicians, not to mention your children, are pending on you. Luke Nowacki, 248-663-4748. Hit it.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Royal Alliance Associates Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates Inc.
Yeah, I love that.
Nothing like making
Charlie, every time you read that and you say grow your assets, I have the wrong thought when you start. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, nobody wants to do that. But okay, we do want to grow our assets.
Pulled my hamstring this morning. So speaking of
What'd you do?
I went jogging barefoot.
Really?
Mile and a quarter in 9 minutes.
Why barefoot?
I just like it. Don't you remember that marathoner?
Zola Bud?
And he went with no shoes?
Zola Bud had no shoes.
Yep.
And I only know that because didn't she run over somebody in the Olympics?
I don't remember.
I don't know. Sorry.
But it actually feels good. I run on the grass.
Okay.
Because I want to be honest.
So you
I'm too cheap to buy shoes. I don't like to shop. Karen does the shopping.
Yes. I But you know what, Charlie? I walk around on my property all the time with no shoes. I like walking around with no shoes, but that's why I don't like people to spit and throw trash. I don't want to step in it, but I like walking around with no shoes. I do.
I once, speaking of that, I was thinking about spit and you're running barefoot. One time in New York City, in the rain, in Chinatown, I bet somebody $5 I would stick my tongue in the sewer with the green radiator.
Yeah.
Yep.
For how much?
$5.
Really?
Easiest $5 ever made.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is disgusting.
But he's fine. It made him stronger, Karen.
It did, Karen. So, that's the thing about COVID.
Throw the website out about the T-shirt. People are asking. They want to buy a shirt. So
look, we need to start
it.
We need to start a movement. We are starting a movement. These things have taken off, haven't they, Mark?
Yeah, they're selling pretty good.
Fix the shit. Go to drewandmikestore.com. There's also no bullshit news hour.
Yeah.
But we need to fix the shit. I'm not a partisan. You got to know that. I was playing softball. Guy says to me, "Hey, man, you're Trump, right? I love you, LeDuff. You're Trump, right?" I go, "Fuck no, I'm not Trump." He goes,
Biden then.
He goes, "You're Biden?" I said, "Fuck no, I'm not Biden." And he said, "Well, who you going for?" I go, "I'm looking for a third party, maybe libertarian." And then he went like this.
I always hated it when people say, you don't get to complain about the president or your electorate if you don't vote. And I'm like, sometimes not voting is the vote. It's the statement. So
That's true. I don't.
That's true.
I'm not gonna rip anybody, but like a lot of people suffered and died for your right to have it. You should try.
but it's also your right not to if you don't like the candidates.
That's exactly right.
Well,
But-
it's a strategic process, too, and you got to understand, especially when you talk about preliminaries and who's voting or not voting for who, that's going to end up in the general. It's a very strategic thing, but everybody should be engaged in some
Amen.
capacity.
Look, you should be knowledgeable, folks. Look, I'm. This is hard. I know I sound like a broken record, but that's because there's no other music playing. You're not getting information. I'm going to give you what's going on because you deserve to have it. And I know you don't get it because I'm watching the very prepared governor, who I do believe I voted for. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I did, right? But you got to answer better than that. So when we're going to do a 1 hour with the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the health director of this state in the middle of COVID, I expect better answers than canned hams. And that's all I got because I need to know where this is going. Have we fixed it? It's important to say, in America, these cases are skyrocketing, right? But the death totals are declining. The raw numbers of deaths, the curve,
Yes.
it's now bottomed out and it's binging along the bottom like that, right?
Yeah.
Why? Where did all these deaths come from?
Nursing homes.
50% they estimate of the country's dead were in these nursing homes, and the majority of those were in these 5 states, including ours, that commingled them. That's a big deal. We're still doing it.
Let me ask you a nursing home question, because major spikes in Florida, Texas, Arizona, California. Any nursing home spikes there, or how are they treating the nursing homes?
Florida does not commingle. Texas will not commingle.
Interesting.
California was going to do what New York and Pennsylvania and Michigan did, and they listened to the healthcare industry and backed off of it. So these cases, it's a very serious thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm in 7-Eleven, and the news there, I don't know if it's true, they're going to start enforcing fines for not wearing a mask in public on Monday, $500, right? And good old boy's like, good luck with that. It's my fucking country. And it is his country. And fuck it, you ain't going to pay that. And we can't stop crime in Detroit. We're not going to be doing that.
I don't think they're going to be issuing too many tickets. I think it's more a threat to
Yeah.
show how serious it is.
So 50% of the people that died in this country are 1/2 of 1% of the population. So this was very important. And I don't know, did we
It's queued up. Yep.
All
this
right.
is from Fox 2, Detroit's Facebook page.
So it was an hour. There wasn't much there. They talked a lot about masks and, racial equality and all that's all important. But the stuff we all care about, here it was, right here. Let's see what she says.
Many people are watching right now are asking you to address your early decision to put COVID-19 patients and allow them to remain in those nursing homes. I want you to be able to address that in front of everybody.
Pause.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Pause. That's not a question. No offense to my good friend Roop Raj. They want you to address it.
Yeah.
Address what? What specifically? These people are slippery. You got to come with it. You got to know.
It's a softball.
But Charlie, this is the thing. If that were his approach, he wouldn't have access, which is why she won't interview with you, which is why Mike Duggan won't interview with you. So I want everybody to see the differences here. So that type of approach will not garner you an interview.
Well, look, here's the thing. Last time I interviewed the mayor, he walked himself into a grand jury. Because I'm coming with it. I'm not wasting your time out there. I'm certainly not going to waste my time. And I want a better government. Elected officials no longer seem to want to better our lives. Mm-hmm. It's to perpetuate the party. Mm-hmm. And who gets to get their niece a job in the bureaucracy?
And keep their own job.
Yeah, God damn it.
Exactly.
Who wouldn't want to keep their own job? The only issue I have, and I thoroughly agree with you, Karen, it's the game that's being played. If you're going to be asked tough questions, you're not going to get that person unless everybody asks tough questions, because who are they going to talk to then?
But that doesn't happen anymore,
right,
Mark, and you know that. I mean,
there's always going to be some.
Things have changed. Once upon a time, you had to make sure that everything was together because people were coming at you from every angle. You had to be accountable. Now, too many, I'm not going to say everybody, but too many people want to be friends. They want to be invited to the parties. They want to have access, so they play that game.
It ain't doing me a goddamn bit of good.
Let me say this. Nope. Any real, legitimate public servant, not going to say elected official, I'm going to say public servant, would make themselves available and accessible to answer the tough questions, even those questions that they may not have an answer to.
It is a requirement in democracy that you answer the questions. And we're going to play the clip now, but I got to tell you, big storm brewing. If this power goes out, fuck it, show's over. Right? It's just over. We're not going to start again. I'm going to go crack a beer.
I appreciate it. I think
she appreciates that, Charlie.
The true tragedies of this particular virus is how easily it is transmitted and how disproportionately it hits our older population, especially older population that has underlying medical vulnerabilities. We know that this experience has played out across the planet, frankly, but we've seen it.
This is the problem with him asking, to quote unquote address it, because now she can just ramble on and say anything she wants about any aspect of it.
What we found out is this attacks old people. We knew it before it even got here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that makes the case even worse.
Real time here in the United States, first in Seattle, but of course all across the U.S. At every step of the way, we have followed the CDC's best guidance, and our policies reflected that. And I think, all of the efforts that we've taken to keep people safe by closing down the ability for other outsiders to come in, et cetera, our policy with regard to, we never once required that any nursing home take a COVID-19 recovering patient.
Stop. What did she just say? We never required. I'm just calling that a lie. Okay, because here, Executive Order 2020-50 signed April 15th, 2020. Her 50th executive order. This comes 3 weeks after New York, which we just basically copied it. It mentions must in this executive order 29 times. I will give you some, my friends out there. Our friend, we all got some old people we got hit by, and I care about these old people, and no more old people. Quote, a long-term care facility must not prohibit admission or readmission of a resident based on COVID-19 testing. Again, any long-term care facility that has a dedicated COVID unit must admit anyone that it would normally admit as a resident, regardless of whether the individual has recently been discharged from the hospital for COVID.
What a huge mistake.
Next, the long-term care facility of origin must accept the return of the resident. Next, the hospital must discharge the resident to a regional hub.
But she just said...
If the long-term care facility where the resident resided prior to the onset of the symptoms of COVID must discharge the resident to their facility of residence for placement in the unit. A nursing home with a population of less than 80% must create a unit dedicated to the care of COVID-19 residents and must provide appropriate personal protection equipment as available. To
As
direct
available, what does that mean?
Right on. To direct care employees. I got to finish. Report to the Health and Human Services all presumed positive COVID cases, but no must about the deaths, which we still don't have. And it's important to say these are just nursing homes that are accredited by the federal government. More than half of the nursing homes are the ones we all think about, like, Grandpa plays pinochle at 5 and has a beer with, Shirley from, room 445, right?
Yeah.
We didn't even count those. There's a private place that I know of, they had at least 20 deaths, not counted. Another place I know of, 2 deaths, not counted. You see where I'm going? Yeah. Okay. A long-term care facility must not prohibit admission or readmission of a resident based on COVID. Okay. So that's simply not true. Madam Governor. Roll it, Mark.
Chose to, and when they did, they followed the promulgated practices from the CDC about separation and not having intermingling at all. But following the best practices at the time, I think means that sadly lives were lost. Every day, every week, we've learned more and more about this virus. We've adapted. We've consistently questioned our practices and adopted the smartest, most informed next steps every step along the way. But in the early days, I will say that following the CDC was the gold standard at the time, and that's what we were doing. And certainly our numbers in terms of our nursing home deaths are far too many, but they're a lot less than a lot of states. And so I think that's just an important perspective to share. We're going to continue to prioritize keeping our congregate care settings in terms of our oversight.
Okay.
And
you can talk over. She's just going to ramble for a while.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know how long it was. Okay, the CDC was the gold standard. Ladies and gentlemen, for you and for myself and our children, I do the work. These are the CDC guidelines dated April 2nd, 2020, a full 2 weeks before our nursing home debacle. And by the way, 2 weeks after Whitmer puts this into place, Cuomo undoes it, admits fully it was a mistake because New York was doing the same thing. They had so many, he undid it. He said, no more commingling, testing immediately. You have to stay in the hospital for 14 days until you come back negative. Then you can go back.
Yeah.
And this was all done to save money and to stop the surge in the hospitals, which was supposed to go to Cobo, and we could have asked her about that. But these are the CDC. I'm just going to do it so we can put this bullshit to bed.
This is the gold standard.
The gold standard.
Okay.
This is what we followed to the letter. Here's what the CDC said about equipment. Healthcare professionals should use all recommended COVID-19 personal protection equipment for the care of all residents on the affected units. This includes both symptomatic and asymptomatic. What Whitmer put into effect was this. Used best efforts to provide appropriate personal protection equipment and hand sanitizer to all employees that interact with the residents. So you did not follow it.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. Here's the thing about personnel. Here's the big one. Here's how it really got spread. Assigned dedicated healthcare professionals, this is the CDC now, to work only on the COVID-19 care unit. At a minimum, this should include the primary nursing assistants, nurses assigned to care for these residents as well. Healthcare professionals working on the COVID-19 care unit should ideally have a restroom, break room, and work area that are separate from healthcare professionals working in the other areas of the facility. To the extent possible, restrict access of ancillary personnel to the unit. Furthermore, assign environmental services staff, janitors, dishwashers, porters. Remember Brian we had on?
Yeah, I was going to say, remember Brian gave us insight on all of this, and none of this was taking place at that facility.
Okay, and that's exact to staff to work only on that unit. We know from Brian. No, I worked there.
Didn't happen. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So we didn't follow the gold standard.
We didn't follow it at all. Here's about testing. If you get overwhelmed, which the nursing homes did, right?
Yep.
Consider temporarily halting admissions to the facility, at least until the extent of the transmission can be clarified and interventions can be implemented. increasing monitoring of all residents, including assessments of symptoms, blah, 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 3 times daily. That's not in the order. So the Detroit News, God bless them, they went through Google. They looked up the top
test.
45 death nursing homes,
Okay.
right? They were inspected throughout this thing. There aren't.
Oh.
And half of them failed.
And what changes were made from the failures?
We're going to have to get there now, right? So that's what we want to know, Governor. So look, let's see. Half of them, of the 45, 22 had been cited by state inspectors in the last 4 months for failing to follow infection control, isolation, or staffing policies. The shit laid out in the CDC. Another 5 don't even have an inspection report. So you're talking 27 out of 45.
And I'd love to know if they still accepted patients and what kind of penalties they received.
And it's important to know now.
And maybe that was the follow-up question to that long, rambling answer.
Are we almost done with this ramble here?
Yeah, she's done.
Okay, so what's the follow-up question?
Change anything if you had to do it over again?
What?
Would you change anything if you had to do it over again?
Would you change anything?
Which is kind of another open-ended opportunity for her to ramble on.
Well, like what specific? So I'm interested. Go ahead.
There's a lack of
Well, I
specific.
would just say if I had all of the knowledge we have today and could go in a time machine, sure, we'd do some things differently. But at the time, with the knowledge that we had, and
what?
Hey, I would have asked, like, what?
What?
Yeah.
I would have known, okay, what would you change? Not would you change something, but what would you change it and how?
Just admit you made a mistake.
And why?
Well, like Charlie said, like homo. I mean, it's one thing. Nobody's gone through a pandemic before. So to be able to do something, see that it's not working, pull back and do something different is okay. To do something that's not working and continue to stick with it just because you don't want to admit that you've made a mistake is not okay.
It's stupid.
Amen.
It's
Bravo.
pighead. You're right, Karen. Because look,
Perfect.
I'm trying to nail it down. We are either the only or one of the remaining states that still allows the practice. Right?
Yeah.
So, hey, Governor, do we now have this in order? Are we going in weekly to inspect these things? Because if this thing's taken off, half the dead, I'm going to tell you right now, I told you, one private facility that, the state doesn't monitor, they won't give us the data. They're collecting the data and they won't give it to us. So when you say we got hit, Pennsylvania includes nursing homes, adult foster care, recuperation centers. We're not doing that.
What is the point of not doing it right now? I mean, everything's supposed to be out in the open.
Answer it for me.
The thing's such an abject failure. Just present all the material.
Again.
But we've said this before, but this is the thing. This is an audition. I mean, just like, the whole we're going to go, and this isn't personal. This is solely looking at the method or lack thereof of how people in the state of Michigan are being represented or not, and taken care of or cared for or guided. This is an audition. I mean, her whole thing is about challenging, Trump, and we're gonna go. It's still an audition for VP, which I don't think is going to happen. But let's focus on what's happening here.
That's over.
Well, we know it's over. Does Whitmer know it's over?
It's over. It's over.
Well, let's see. Maybe
because of this.
Maybe she supplied some specific things she did wrong here.
Following the CDC. I mean, this is the gold standard. We follow
Yeah, you said that
the
30
protocols
times,
that they prescribed, and
you didn't.
That's the best any state was able to do. Frankly,
That's not true.
Those are
I
facts.
think we always have to have a mindset that we're going to follow the science and take.
What science?
She's just going to keep rambling here.
These are talking points.
Maybe there's another good follow-up question that really demands some answers from her.
I can't wait.
Send her a shirt.
Fix this shit.
Let's have Detroit Red send the shirt to
Will we
her.
be able to visit our elderly friends and families in these nursing homes anytime soon?
Okay, done.
Well, doctor.
Done.
Which she just passes that off to
Okay.
the doctor, too.
I would doubt it. The whole point is if my loved one's in there, am I ever going to be able to see them again?
Well, how about the ones who had loved ones die?
Right. I'm not going for it. I don't care. See, that's what you're going to answer here, Governor. And I know Karen's probably watching. Hey, folks out there, I know you probably want these answers. And look, I don't support anybody for office. Those holding the chair are answerable to us. It wasn't good enough. You hire Buttigieg's guy to craft your message, and Buttigieg went up in flames. Eventually, we catch on to empty talk. We want shit fixed. Didn't talk about the crime. Didn't talk about that. That wasn't asked. That's the second biggest story in Michigan. And your money, your unemployment. But before we go there, No Bullshit News Hour, brought to you by American Coney Island, Detroit's oldest family-run restaurant and birthplace of the famous Detroit Coney dog. You know it, chili, mustard, and Vidalia onions. Downtown at the corner of Lafayette and Michigan Avenue. Can't miss it. It's the red, white, and blue building, open from 11 to 6. No, forget that. We don't need to know anymore. It's open to midnights on the weekends. It's open to 9 or 10, and we don't know what the governor's going to do.
There's only one way to find out. Just go there.
Yeah, or call ahead.
No more 24 hours?
No more 24 hours. That's a thing of the past for a while. And if you don't want to go downtown and you're hankering, send for a Coney kit delivered right to your door anywhere in the 50 states. Go to AmericanConeyIsland.com. And also, our good friends at ADR Consultants who help you get your business done right. How do you navigate the bureaucracy in this corrupt state of ours? How do you keep to the rules when those holding you to the rules aren't following the rules? You know, it's hard. How do you grow your company and keep the government hands out of your pocket? You call Barry Ellentuck at 8, and I've been watching this guy work last couple of weeks. Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He's deep in it?
He's deep in it. Things are moving. He's got things moving. I just refer people to him. Just call him. It's a free consultation, 248-318-9424. ADR Consultants, experts in procurement, government compliance, information technology, property management, all of it.
He's got it.
Yep. ADR Consultants, 248-318-9424.
I would imagine a lot of businesses need that right now.
Yes, they do. They do.
It's a mess.
Okay, can I just do my rant? Can I set up Ira Todd? Ira Todd's coming on the show. The police
Legendary.
Police describe him. Top police officials I know say this guy, who just recently retired, just a couple months ago, should be working as an interrogator for the CIA. He's that good. This guy puts baby killers. This guy puts serial killers to prison. Sleeps them, walks them to sleep, gets them to love them, gets them to take them. This guy knows everything about the streets. He's going to come up. But first, I want to set it up with crime. I would have asked the governor, what are we doing about crime? It matters. Detroit is our capital city. If that place is a bloodbath, then it's a bloodbath for all of us. That's just the way that goes. So, there seems to me to be an acceptable body count in the city of Detroit, judging by the inaction of the state's political leadership. The comparisons to America's other large cities are startling. Exploding violence is the stuff of international headlines in the wake of Black Lives Matter protesters demanding the downsizing of police, and in turn, the police downsizing their response to crime. Even so, the level of Detroit's violence is mind-blowing. Get ready. Everybody get close. Get close to the speaker. Listen to this. Chicago reported 87 shooting victims over the long 4th of July weekend, 17 of them fatal. Detroit saw at least 46 shootings, 3 of them children, and at least 8 homicides. Chicago publishes its crime data daily. Detroit does not. It's important to note, however, that Chicago has 4 times the population of Detroit, meaning if Detroit at this crime rate was as big as Chicago, we would have had 200 shot over the weekend. Think about that. New York has seen an explosion in gunplay. It was Gotham's bloodiest June in a quarter century. 205 shootings during the month. Detroit beat New York. Over the past month, Motown has suffered 221 shootings. It's important to note that New York has 11 times the population of Detroit, nearly 8 million more people. So if we were the size of New York, last month we would have had 2,200 shootings. Think about the level of this. And nobody's even said shit here. Atlanta saw 30 wounded by gunfire over the last weekend, 5 homicides, including an 8-year-old. So bad was the violence there that the governor of Georgia declared a state of emergency and sent in the National Guard. Now, In Detroit, 221 shootings in the month. You want a bigger comparison? During the first 7 years of the Iraq War, you guys remember that one? IEDs. An average of 380 United States military personnel were wounded a month. 380. We had 221. The point is, we have a war in the streets, and that should alarm us all, and we should all care about it. What does our governor do? What did she say? Nothing. Not a mention. No, here, want to know what to do? There's no mobilization of the state police to monitor Detroit's major thoroughfares, which have become a rodeo ground for stunt drivers and souped up cars, a practice, it should be remembered, encouraged by James Craig, the chief of police. Instead, Whitmer asked the people of Michigan by way of Twitter last month to, quote, list what you love about Detroit. I love the people. I love its children. I don't love crime, and I'm going to face it. Has Mayor Mike Duggan addressed the weekend's wild violence yet? No. Has he been challenged by the press? No.
No.
Where's the headline? Do something, Mike! We elect representatives to improve our lives. Party politics make it impossible. They're more interested in power and purse strings than the welfare of the people. That's just how I see it. Last week, Chief Craig attempted to explain away the violence that's plagued the city for 5 years, and we've been telling you about it. We don't buy the bullshit numbers. He blamed the shooting and the murders on people being cooped up by COVID. He blamed it on arguments gone wrong. Isn't that the way murder usually happens? An argument gone wrong? Come on, man. Where's the proactive policing? Where's the gun strategy? Where's the retraining of the police we've been asking for? Where's anything? The joke now going around, excuse me, is the one about Officer Phil and Officer Chekhov. You heard of those guys? They're hypothetical cops who respond to 911 calls only long after the crime's been committed. When Officer Phil eventually arrives, he fills out the paperwork. His partner, Officer Chekhov, checks off the boxes. And off they go like cheap census canvassers. Nothing gets done. Nobody gets arrested. And that's the overwhelming situation in Detroit. Murder and shooters don't get caught, and they're likely to shoot again. That's the guys we got to get. Stop fucking with everybody else. Stop giving out tickets and COVID masks and shit. We need these guys. I attended a march at a Black Lives Matter crowd on Monday. And you've got to appreciate their commitment. You do. I do. 40 days straight in 95-degree weather, and they're still shaking it up. Our conversations were reasonable. Less money for the police, more for the people, they said. And that's understandable. It really is. However, as we've said on this program, we've already given the police less money, and now we're getting what we pay for. I pointed to the Northwest Activity Center on 6 Mile in Myers, is it, Karen?
For the what?
For the Northwest Activity Center.
Oh, yeah.
The premier place, the premier activity center, right? Where they had all mustered. The paint on the joint was peeling. The sidewalks were cracked and choked with weeds. The last time I'd been there, the mayor promised $30 million for neighborhood development that never developed. I reminded them of the 4th precinct. You guys remember that, where they were bucked off the car the other night, right? Of the squad car. I went there and I looked. I'm like, oh yeah, I did that story 10 years ago. That place was built on a no-bid contract where the builder pocketed $2.5 million, and now the shit's falling apart. I told you then. Then there's the skyscraper money. There's the pro golf event we're paying for, the hockey arena, the Chrysler Auto Factory, the demolition dollars, the failed jail, the new jail, the no-bid real estate deals. If you're looking for money, that's where it's at. That's what I said to him. It's billions. All they ever give us is basketball courts, one dude said to me. Ain't that some racist shit, basketball courts? I said, yeah, man, indeed. No one calls Detroit comeback city anymore. They wouldn't dare, especially now that the protesters have the national eye trained on the city's neighborhoods, the country's neighborhoods. We can't keep up with this. We can't do this anymore. People are dying. Too many people for too many no good reasons. So I'll ask it again. What's the plan, Governor? Where are you, Mr. Mayor? Do something. And taking a knee is a gesture for politicians who are out of breath, out of courage, and out of ideas.
Amen.
You nailed it, Charlie.
That's all we hire you to do. No big development. I don't need that shit. Fix the road. Fix the damn roads. Fix the unemployment website. Oh, who called? Who's on the line?
It's Duggan. He finally got into us.
Fake Mayor Duggan?
Yeah.
Fake Mayor Mike Duggan's on the line.
Whoa, can you hear me?
I like you. I like you better than the real one, Fake Mayor. How are you, sir?
I'm honored. I tell you, I don't take that as too big of a badge of accomplishment or anything like that to be like better than the real one. But thanks.
Well, what the fuck are you doing about crime, sir?
All right, Charlie. Look, not too long ago, you called me Trump by another name.
Because you are.
I just checked the calendar, Charlie, and it's the 12th and never. Because I think you're right this time. So I don't know if you know this, but my administration has just launched a new Sister Cities program.
Oh.
Oh.
All right, we're gonna become Sister Cities with Hoona, Alaska.
Why
Not a very
Hoona,
big
Alaska?
city. Yeah, Hoona, Alaska. All right, it's not a very big city, but it's similar to Detroit, in that it's a hardworking community made up of people trying to raise their families, safe, secure neighborhoods, just like Detroiters. All right, so of course it's a little easier for them because they got about 65 people in the whole town. But listen, what we decided is to average out and jointly report our crime stats because I realized that our already in use, sophisticated approach to reporting crime stats needed to be revised even more. All right, so I'm happy to report here on the No Bullshit News Hour that this has already resulted in cutting our violent crime rate in half. Now, unfortunately for Hoona, theirs has increased about 150,000%. All right, but nonetheless, I'm really excited about this program, and I think Detroiters should be too.
But at least Hoona's population went up a little bit too. So,
Well, not really. Maybe, you know what, Mr. Mayor, if Hoona is our sister city, we should get a little bump in the census numbers in Detroit since nobody's filling out the fucking form.
That's brilliant. Oh, that's brilliant. I got to call Vicky.
Who's Vicky, sir?
She's in charge of all of the census operations here.
Oh.
Kovari.
Is she in Hoona right now?
I believe we're doing Zoom conference calls with some of the elected officials. Hoona. Hey, that could work.
Hoona.
Karen, you have any questions for fake Mayor Duggan?
No, I just want to let you know that some of our listeners are calling you Mayor Thuggin. They're giving you that name. But this is what I want to know, Mr. Mayor, because I had a very active, longtime community person call me day before yesterday, and say, how are we a city with 4 major sports teams and everything outside of the immediate downtown area continues to look like a third world country? She asked, it says, what's happening? Where's the money and why isn't anybody saying anything? What's your response?
Mayor Thuggin?
Yeah, great question, whoever that was, and I'm glad you're relaying that. Look, we got cranes at the Hudson site. So that's where the money's going. Duh. Where the fuck have you been? How much public money has gone into these types of projects?
It's a fucking hole in the ground, Mr. Thuggin. The cranes never move. I drive by every morning. They're never moving. What's going on?
Well, we got some new ones in there. And, I guess we're going to eventually, when the time's right, get more workers on site even to operate those cranes, maybe materials. Like COVID slowed down our workforce development programs. And then I guess, then we told everyone to singularly focus on getting those forthcoming FCA jobs. But anyhow, when the time possibly comes to bring in more workers, well, that's when we'll double down on being partners with Hoona, Alaska.
And one more question. Are you afraid of black people?
Am I afraid of black people?
Yes. We never see you in the neighborhoods. It's always a very, controlled situation with a few select people around you. But do you ever just drive through the east side, the west side, maybe Mack and Bewick, maybe Dexter and Livernois, and just kind of touch the people that you represent?
I have. I've been granted a hood pass in a few communities. But am I afraid of black people? I mean, the answer to that would be, I guess, smell my drawers after I go and chop it up with some of the homeboys.
Well, what do you think about the protesters? And Charlie's talking about it in his rant. 40 days, it's pretty impressive, isn't it?
It's incredibly impressive. I don't know that I could handle it for 40 minutes out there in that heat. Especially without a Diet Coke, forget about it.
Have you been wearing a mask?
Yeah. You could see me wearing a mask in these briefings. I don't necessarily wear it when I'm at the table, and we're spaced out according to the proper guidelines at the table. So I feel comfortable taking it off there. I want to make sure that my voice is coming through when I'm wearing it. I believe in it. Everybody should be wearing a mask as much as possible.
Now, Mr. Mayor, you had a press conference yesterday. I don't know where it was. I wasn't invited. And I don't know if you addressed crime, but I do know you were talking about more grant money bullshit giveaway. I mean, where were you? Why wasn't I invited? And why won't you address crime?
Oh, well, naturally. Charlie, we hold our briefings in the public safety headquarters.
Get the fuck out of here. Your press conference was at police headquarters.
Yeah, well, Detroit Police has its own media department, has a wonderful room where the commissioners have their meetings. We use it all the time for press conferences, and you know what? We just thought, yeah, it's perfect. What better place to not talk about public safety than the public safety headquarters?
Duh.
That would seem to me, if I was invited, I would be thinking, well, what about the police? What about crime? Did anybody ask you about it? Any of the media?
Yeah, no.
Why don't you invite Charlie? Why is he off the list?
Yeah, Mike.
I can't tell you. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's getting lost in the mail, or maybe
mail.
He's not showing up. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'll see if we can get him to come around.
You have more communication people on your staff than in any other earlier administration. I would like to think that one of those people would extend the invitation to Charlie to come to your press briefings.
The problem is we'd have to impose some exclusive social distancing guidelines just for Charlie. I think, just give me a little time. I'll try to figure something out.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I'm just going to, before I let you go, I got to your communications director, Mr. Roach, and I asked, I don't know if he gave you the message, to appear on the show, and what he wrote back was, thanks for the invite, but the mayor won't be joining.
Oh, wow.
So I think, is that for like forever, sir?
I'll have to talk to John. No, we'll give you a maybe, possibly, if and when, type of answer all the time, Charlie.
Okay.
Case by case.
What will it take to get you in here?
Cares.
There's got to be something
Gosh.
that entices them.
Yeah, well, we're talking about incentives. I don't know. We may have to go offline with this.
I think you knew where I was going.
I'm not really programmed to talk about making these kind of deals, and providing underhanded incentives.
That's all you do.
I know. Let me finish. I don't do that. I'm not programmed to do that in public. Okay.
Smoke-filled back room. All right. Well, sir, look, we're going to let you go. Thanks for joining us. And listen, can you lay off at least one or two of those 145 appointees making on average $140,000 instead of taking the cops' raise this year? Can you just lay off some of the fat?
We'll give it some consideration.
No, you won't.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. It's the first goddamn honest thing he said. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
What was that figure you just threw out? Can you
It was. I FOIA'd it.
Yep.
This isn't the police. I took them out, Homeland Security, like they were trying to dummy it down. 144 appointees on average made $142,000.
Wow.
He likes to tell you it's 85. He plays with the numbers. I'm good with numbers. I've got them. That's $20 million. You know what that is? That's 2% of the entire budget for like 12 dozen people.
Any idea how that compares to previous administrations?
Yeah, when Karen was in the Bing administration. Go ahead, Karen.
No, I'm just saying it is.
I'll tell you the number.
Double. There was nothing like that in the earlier administration.
There were 12 people.
Like I just asked him in terms of the number of people, what they're making, and the number of appointees that don't live in the city of Detroit. So, I mean, there are a lot of factors. The largest communication staff is
You're not answering the question. The answer to your question, when Karen was his communications director of Bing, they had 12 people making over $100,000. One dozen.
And what about Kilpatrick? Do we have any idea what his numbers were? I mean,
I don't.
No, okay. Just curious.
I don't. I don't. What, am I supposed to do everything?
Yes. Yeah, you are.
Fuck.
Your name's on the show.
But, do everything. Okay, folks, look here. Let me tell you about Hall Financial. They want you to know mortgage rates are at all-time lows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get the house, sell the house, refinance the house, lower your monthly payments, and put money in your pocket. If you're in the market for that home, remember, Hall Financial Services is the fastest in the business. You'll get your mortgage in half the time of their competitors. That's a fact. That's why they have more than 1,500 five-star reviews. They're good to the community, right? They're honest, they're ethical, they're smart too.
Easy to deal with.
Really easy. Bob Schettelbauer, right? Old libtard Bob swears by him.
Me too.
I swear by him.
I've used them, yeah.
Boom.
Very easy.
So remember, appraisals can be done without someone stepping foot inside your house. I was wishing we'd be able to let that phrase go.
Yeah.
But it's back. They can do it driving by. Call 248-308-5000 or go to davidhallmortgage.com. Okay? davidhallmortgage.com, 248-308-5000. Oh. NMLS number 1467435.
Come for you. Tell me what you wanna do, what you gonna do.
He's already laughing.
Bad boys, what you gonna do, what you gonna do when they come for you.
Yeah.
Bad boys, what you gonna do,
Now,
what you gonna do when
all right, leave that on a little bit because it makes me excited. Look at him. If you're watching on Facebook Live, look at him, Superfly. Look at him, Lightning Hopkins.
Smile, Charlie.
Look at him, he's awesome. This is the Super Cop.
Yeah, love that hat too.
Ira Todd, it is a pleasure, brother, to have you on. A living freaking legend. Again, a senior interrogator for the Detroit police. This guy is regarded nationwide. How many confessions do you think you got in the murders?
Murders?
Yeah.
Probably within 100 or so.
Fuck. How many serial killers you busted?
I've got well over probably 1,000 confessions, but from larceny all the way up to murders and everything else throughout 35 years.
So 100 murder confessions.
Probably, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How does a man get another person to admit murdered?
What is there a simple trick? Not trick.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, it's not really a trick. It's experience, it's wisdom, and it's mostly empathetic listening. You know, you have to actually treat people like human beings and talk to them like human beings.
Were you a good cop or bad cop? Because I've seen a lot of movies.
Both. I was a little bit of both.
He was a little bit of both.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
What do you mean by that?
Started off, you grow and you develop onto the job just like anything else in life. And I started off a patrol officer. I came from Michigan State Police, so I came from a culture where it was very professional, very paramilitary. You yes sir, no sir, those kind of things. And then when I left the state and came to Detroit, same thing. They taught you the same type of things. But when you actually get on the streets of Detroit, you develop into something else, and you kind of assimilate into that type of society, whatever area you're working in. So if you're working in a really bad area or a Delta area or something like that, where you got a lot of thugs and a lot of hardcore people, you become a little hard. It rubs off on you a little bit.
So you work gang squad.
I work gang squad, yeah.
So you were like you gang squad like the 90s, right? I mean, you just retired.
80s. No, early 80s, like 80s, 87 is when I went to gang squad.
So was that kind of a thug unit? Were you guys thugs?
We wasn't thugs, but I tell you what, back then we didn't think we were thugs, but we were the cops that, this was our motto. When the citizens got in trouble, they called the police. When the police got in trouble, they called gang squad, special crime unit. And And I know Karen, she remember all this. With the special crime section, within special crime section was gang squad, DOT surveillance, and major crime mobile unit. So I worked major crime mobile units too. And they work closely with homicide to go pick up felons and things like that.
So back in that day, you guys ruled the streets. Look.
We were the biggest gang in the city of Detroit. We said Detroit police was the biggest gang. No other gang. We didn't allow colors back then. LA would allow colors and things like that. We took their colors.
So
guys learned how to identify themselves in different ways.
You guys beat ass back in the day, didn't you? I mean, you beat ass.
Let me tell you something. We ruled with Iron Fist. We whooped some, you know what? Yes. Oh, yeah. We didn't take anything. We came from a culture where we were no-nonsense police. We demanded respect. We gave respect. Now, we didn't go out there hitting old ladies and messing with middle-class people and stuff like that. But if you had guys out there shooting at each other and disregarding little kids on the street and killing kids and stuff like that, when they came and got us to go look for them, we looked for them aggressively. And
do you think that was kind of a reflection too of almost old school neighborhood, the kind of thing, where an adult could say something to a child because it was what's in their best interest without any repercussions from that parent? I mean, do you think that was a reflection of just the era that we were as a people, as a community, where we were doing what we had to do to make it better for everybody?
Yes, I think you're 100% right. And I think it was that kind of thing. And I grew up that way too. It's like the police tell you, get off my corner. You better be off this corner. We learned to respect the police, even if we didn't like them. Even we feared them a little bit. But we respect the police.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, it was a different type of animal back then. But we wouldn't tolerate even hard looks.
But that grew into you, didn't it? Because you were telling me once about that wasn't your culture. You grew up at 12th and Claremont, the epicenter of the riots.
12th and Hughes, between Puritan and Finkel.
So you were close to the epicenter.
Yeah, I was right by the riots. I had the tanks on my yard, 1967.
You had a single mom. Your father was doing time in prison.
Yeah, 4.5 years.
You came and you thought the police were the good guys.
Always.
And then you join, you need some money. And then you start realizing, wait a minute. We're a little bit of the bad guys too.
That's right. You learn early, like I was telling you, Charlie. My mother raised me, and my mother was a law-abiding citizen, and my father was, he got in a little trouble when he was younger, And like I tell you, in certain neighborhoods that you grow up in, it may be wrong, but a lot of black folks I grew up with said, "I'd rather steal than kneel." We didn't beg for things, and in certain neighborhoods, people get so desperate, instead of begging and kneeling, they'll go out there and steal, or they'll go out there with a gun and take it. And it's just the nature of the beast. And I learned that, but my mother kept me away from that. And she kept us in the backyard. She kept us close. She made sure we kept our nose clean, didn't get in trouble. I wasn't exposed. I mean, we had gangsters and dope dealers and people all around the neighborhood that we knew of, but we were never exposed to it. My mother kept us in the yard. If you wanted to play with us, and you had to be a good kid and come play in the yard.
Right.
And so she kept us all clean and out of trouble. And then I was able to join the police department. It's something I really wanted to do. And so when I got on the police department, especially with Detroit, it was like, I really loved it. I loved the uniform. I love being a cop. To this day, I'm really proud of being a cop. I love being a cop, love being on that side.
Yeah.
But it was a culture shock. My first couple of years, it was kind of like, okay, this is cool. And then I used to walk a beat in Herman Gardens. And I had that state police mentality where it was like, yes, sir, no, sir, how you doing, sir? And some of those guys in that projects would eat you alive. Get the fuck away from me, bitch. They would use profanity. They're like, get away from me. No respect for the police. So after a couple of months, it started rubbing off on you. You start being like the guys that were training you and the guys that trained them. They ruled with a heavy fist. And so after a while, it was kind of like, no, you couldn't be punked out there. You couldn't allow them to take control of you. And guys would try you. Guys would literally say, okay, well, you want to arrest me? Come take me. Come take me. And we had a thing back then. You hit a cop, you go to the hospital. Let's be real. You hit a cop, you go to the hospital.
Let's be real.
Because I'm going to be real. And I'm telling you, it got better over the 20 years. But when we first came on, we were taught to rule with iron fist. We were taught to demand respect and give respect. And we gave respect.
You said it's changed, and it has. And Detroit, You were involved in a culture that got so bad they was locking away innocent people, trying to get them to confess up at the 9th floor of the old police precinct. The federal government took us over for 13 years for use of force, and we killed a lot of guys. Things changed. But now do you see, Ira, like, please speak freely and honestly. I talk to a lot of police as well. Now it's changed. Has it changed where at this moment right now that we're living in, with everything we're seeing, that the police are doing the wave by? They're not policing now. Have they stopped?
I think you probably have a small amount of people, that cops that do that. I'm gonna be real honest with you. You got some guys that will slow drag to runs. Some guys that may say, hey, I'm not gonna risk my life getting to that run. You know, you get guys that get complacent and say, hey, look here, you know, it'll be there when we get there, things like that. But I'm telling you honestly, Charlie, and the guys I work with, and, you know, I retired from the homicide task force, and we had old and young guys there. And the guys that I work with, I'm telling you, they still got that hurt.
Oh, no, look, Detroit homicide, you kidding me? That's the busiest detective in the country.
Yeah.
That's another matter. You're showing up there when it's done, and you're gonna hunt a dude down. But I know a lot of cops, and I'm not accusing them of being lazy or anything like that, but it's Officer Phil and Officer Chekhov. I'm not getting out of the car and chasing that dude down. He's got something puffy in his thing, or he looks like he's menacing somebody. I'm not doing it. Is that much true?
You have a few officers that's going to do that. But from what I can see, I'm being real honest with you. From what I can see, a lot of officers out there are really, really trying to do their job. I see guys working their butts off. Even during the COVID, I keep in touch with a lot of the guys that were working out there. You had guys like, I got to go in there because I don't feel like it, but so-and-so can't work today, and I got to have somebody cover him. Guys really care about the city, especially the ones that grew up in the city and they still got parents in the city and things like that.
Yeah.
They really, really do care. Now, you have some guys that maybe come from the suburbs or that never grew up in the city and don't really have a vested interest in the city, who might say, you know what? I'm not killing myself for the city that really doesn't care about me. Because first of all,
are you talking about the lack of value from loss of residency, which is something that we've talked about? It really wasn't challenged, and that disconnect that people automatically feel when they don't have a vested interest. And what does that do for the citizens, or the residents rather, that are supposed to be protected by these officers that don't have that connectivity and commitment?
I think it was the worst thing they could have did. And I'm one of the people that wanted to move out too. I was like, I want to go out. I wanted lower taxes. I wanted better services. I wanted safer schools. I wanted all that stuff. And I said, let me move out into the suburbs, you know, out, way out. I did that. And I tell you something, you can tell how things have changed within the family of Blue. We were closer when we all lived in the city. We all had each other's backs. If somebody just say, if you had to go pick up your kids and you couldn't pick up your kids, you can call your partner over at number 7. Hey, could you pick up my so-and-so, take it to your house? I got a late run or something, or I'm working over. We cared about it. We shopped in the same grocery stores. Our neighbors were the people that we were protecting. And you had a certain connection to the city, and you loved the city. And I'm telling you, things just worked a lot better. You protected people because this was my city. Now it's kind of like you go punch a clock and then you go home. So it's like it's somebody else's problem once you leave, you know.
After your 16-hour shift.
Yes, and that's another thing, Charlie, that's bugged me my whole career. And I've been a guy that worked 24/7. Recall, I got so burnt out. When I left the job, I was so burnt out, and I'm just now recovering from it. But you love the job so much. But I'm telling you, the worst thing they can do, some of these younger officers within their first 5 years, is work them those double shifts. These guys don't realize when you start seeing guys doing crazy stuff out there, losing control, can't manage their anger and stuff like that. A lot of that is stress. A lot of that's being overworked. You already don't sleep because a lot of this stuff you can't get out of your head. People think like just because you watch TV and you see all this stuff on TV, you get numb to it. But when you're in the real world, you can smell death, taste death, breathe death, and watch all this violence go on, all this tragedy and stuff, and you actually live in it. You relive it over and over again. Even when you suppress it, you find yourself sometimes drifting out, thinking about stuff, thinking about cases and stuff. And people don't realize the stress that's on law enforcement across the country. There's a lot of stress on law enforcement.
Now,
so I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
I was going to say to that point, you said you're finally getting to a point. I mean, you had a very famous acquittal for a shooting. Is that one of those things that keeps coming back to you? Or?
Yeah, let's make that clear for the
Let me tell you something.
audience.
I haven't. When
Let me
Jose
say this,
died,
Ira, for the audience, make it clear. You, on the job, gang squad, were charged with the murder of an unarmed citizen.
Yes, a Cuban immigrant,
Tell us
Jose
about it.
Eldorado, back in 1993.
Did you mean to kill him?
Yeah, that was my intention. My intention was to stop the threat. See, what you got to realize, cops, we are trained, especially back then. We're not so much as educated. We are trained. Like dogs, we are trained. And then I hope I don't offend any other cops out there, but they know what I mean. But we resort back to training during stressful situations. So we're trained to do certain things. And certain things you don't think is you go with the flow. You kind of, and after a few years, you get these gut feelings. You know when guys can report guns, you see verbal gestures, you see things. You are trained to react. And under a stressful situation, you will react. And what people don't realize is you are told what to do, how to do it, when to do it, why to do it, and don't question anything.
Why'd you shoot the guy?
I thought he killed my partner.
Did he kill your partner?
My training is, if I hear a shot, see my partner fall, you eliminate the threat.
But the guy didn't have a gun.
Didn't know that. I heard a shot, saw my partner fall.
Whose gun fired?
It was my partner's gun. We later found that out.
Yeah, but at trial he didn't say it. He said he didn't fire his gun.
He said he didn't know it. He said he didn't remember it. And people called him liars. They called him. I even questioned him for a while. I said, "Did he tell the truth?" And later on, I found out it screwed him up. I remember the night that we got into the shooting. After I had shot Jose and killed Jose, I felt somebody behind me, and we were actually investigating two other guys. And when I spun around to see if these guys had came back to rush me, because I thought they were all part of this whole little thing that was going on, it was Rico standing there in a daze, gun smoking, pointed at me. Almost shot Rico. Almost turned, and they teach us to go center mass. So I turned up in center mass, and I recognized it was Rico. And I still lowered my gun slowly because I didn't know if he was still there. And people don't realize, we see this stuff on TV, and we see cops, they go home and they go eat a piece of pizza and clean their gun afterward. Bull crap. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I couldn't sleep.
So what kind of support do officers need and may not be getting? And what have you done to reconcile the emotional burden that you have acquired and possibly carried for the extent of your career, including that murder?
I've been in therapy. I go periodically, and I go talk to therapists sometimes because it helps me. I'm a talker too, but it helps. And sometimes I can realize when things are starting to bother me again, because I can find myself, getting into this thing where you can't think, you're not processing things, you're just kind of stressing about things. Your mind is racing. And people don't realize the trauma that Detroit cops go through is a little different than like small suburban cops or little town cops. It's over and over and over again. And I really think they need to start paying attention to that. Cops' health and welfare should be priority. Because if you want a good cop, you got to make sure that cop is good, not just on the job, but his home life too.
But brother, we got rid of that. We got rid of healthcare. The mental's not there. The wages are less. Do you feel in the bankruptcy they fucked the cops, not only his wallet, but his mind up?
They screwed him up. And the climate of law enforcement, they don't take mental illness or stress or anything like that really seriously. They say they do, but they don't take it real serious. Think about this. I get into a shooting. They sent me to a guy named Shiner. Shiner's been around for 30, 40 years.
I remember.
Everybody hates Shiner. He's a rubber stamper. Oh, you're okay. If you're stressed out, it's related to your home life, not to your police life. Go back out on the streets. I got people calling me. I got women calling me crying and saying, I can't do the streets anymore. And Shiner put them back on the streets. If a cop telling you I can't do this anymore on the streets, why would you put them back on the streets? Yeah. Stick them inside. Put them on a duty disability for about 6 months. Let them get their heads together.
Let me say something here, brother, because, again, when we're talking about defunding the police and putting it towards mental health services, maybe what we're missing, and this is a common ground for all of us, is we don't have enough mental health services for the police.
Trust me, it's a lot of guys. I think every 6 months, a cop should be evaluated, his whole career.
Shit.
Every 6 months. And then if he said, hey, look here, things are starting to go a little crazy for me. I'm changing. I'm acting a little differently. You know, I'm hyper vigilant. You know, when I go to the mall with my wife and kids, I used to go to the mall while they're shopping. What I'm doing, I'm watching people's hands. Mm-hmm. I'm always expecting something. I'm always preparing myself what's going to go down. People don't realize that. And then think about cops like us from the old school days. I've done multiple undercovers, all type of high profile cases, dealing with hitmen, all those kind of things. You're not afraid, but in the back of your mind, you know, you're always looking over your shoulder. You're always watching your back. Who do you talk to about that? You know, when I got charged with murder, I remember coming home, and I remember the biggest thing that bothered me most was my family looking at me and seeing me as a weak person. I felt weak. I felt like I didn't know if I did the right thing or not. I second guessed myself. And I remember thinking, like, the most important thing, I couldn't let my family see me weak. You know, so I remember my wife said, "You okay?" And I said, "Well, I'll be okay if you quit asking me if I'm okay." You know, and all she was trying to do was care. But I'm trying to be this tough cop. And nobody taught me to say, "Hey, man, something's going on with you. Something's going on with you." Like I just told you, Charlie, I had just left the therapist's office right before I signed up to come on this thing. And we were just talking. And you still realize you deal with a lot of those things that you've seen on the job. I've seen some horrible things. I've seen headless bodies. I've seen just heads in freezers. I've seen multiple babies killed. I've seen babies bleeding on the streets with AK-47 rounds through them. I've seen mothers just lose their minds when they find out that you go and make notifications and you knock on the door and you say, you know, "I'm looking for Miss So-and-so, and what's this about?" And you say, "Oh, your daughter's not coming home. You know, I've been looking for my daughter. Your daughter's not coming." And you see people just lose their mind. And I'm an empathetic person. I empathize with a lot of things. And you take that stuff home and you hold it in. You become overprotective. Nobody talks about that. My kids will tell you that Dad's overprotective. You know, where are you guys? They got to check in. You know, they have to check in. People don't understand the stress that cops go through in the long term and how it affects their families.
Yeah,
you're
divorced.
I got 2 kids that have anxiety attacks. You know, I was in Paris in January of this year, and a friend of mine called me, another cop whose daughter was in Paris, and he said, "Hey, Ira, my daughter's in Paris. I'm scared to death." This is before Corona. And he said, "She have anxiety, but you go check on her." I called her up. I met her for dinner and everything else. And the stuff that she told me had me cracking up. She described me perfectly. She said, "My dad is this. He made me watch Taken 5 times before I went to go to Paris. My dad made me paranoid." You know, and I said, "Wow, what are we doing to our children?" And so people don't realize this thing this law enforcement thing is something that we need to stop playing with. We need to start funding, pay your cops enough money where they don't have to work sideline jobs.
Yep.
Charlie, I talked about Lonnie Wade. Lonnie Wade was a guy that broke me in on the job. Lonnie Wade was one of those street cops.
He was the dude that beat the ass at Myers, the old guy at Myers, right?
Yep. Okay. Lonnie Wade's 65 years old. Yeah. We were gang squad.
The guy at Myers that beat the ass at a young guy.
Yeah.
65-year-old cop still working because he didn't have any health care.
No health care. His daughter got lupus. And I'm sorry to put this bit. I take it, but I don't want to do that. But he's working just like I was working 10 extra years to keep my health care because of my cancer and all my other little ailments. So we stayed on because healthcare is like getting another house note if you retire. And that's not what we signed up for. And I bust my butt for this city. I'm broken up physically and mentally.
So we got a lot of problems. And then, you know, like there's a lot of reasons for the crime going out of control. And this is part of it. And do you think this is a temporary little summer spike, or is this a 5-year thing we're going to go through here, a 10-year thing, considering everything going on in the world?
Oh yeah, I think it's gonna be a while. I think that's the climate right now.
You're saying that get used to higher body counts.
I'm sorry?
Get used to higher body counts is what you're saying.
Oh yeah, I think so. Fuck. I think people are angry, man. People are angry. People are scared. People are afraid. People are broke. People are broke. When people get desperate, they do desperate things.
And they're broken. That's the other thing. I mean, think about this. Think about the cycle that you've just described. You know, whether knowingly or not. Law enforcement, your family, the impact they have on their friends and their family. Now, marry that to the pressures that residents are doing in their own lives. What type of stress do they have? Economic, social, the whole. So we're just a whole mixture of emotions, and nobody is doing anything to sort it out so that we can at least understand, respect those differences, and get the help and support we need. So we have at least, it won't be perfect, but a more workable environment.
Yes.
I mean, these are issues that are not addressed. You know, we tried for years to make sure that calls that came in through 911 were categorized, that everything wasn't a top tier call because they are responded to differently. Maybe somebody just needed a ride to the hospital. Maybe somebody had a hangnail, but everything is top tier emergency. So you go in with this this stress and this anxiousness about it being antagonistic and violent, and it just rolls on. Like, what do we do to stop that will?
Yes. And what happens when, and think about this, Karen, too, and what happens when you tell a law enforcement officer, look here, we give you the authority, state of Michigan give you the authority to make an arrest. And then you can use the force that's necessary to effect that arrest. So what happens when you got somebody say, I'm not going to jail? Me and Charlie even played around with that one day. I said, Charlie, stop me without physically stopping me and saying, I'm not going to jail. What do you do?
Right.
You know, so there need to be some sort of rules or some laws or something to say, okay, I'll tell you what, if we're not allowed to forcefully restrain somebody, unless it's somebody like a violent person, like, you know, serial or something like that, then that person refused. Well, maybe that should be another felony. Maybe that should be considered a violent felony, because now if you refuse to let police take custody of you, you know, we think now you might be violent the next time I try to take custody of you. That's what people don't realize. Like Charlie said, like the homicide cops, we come
behavioral health support. Maybe
hold on. Let him finish. Let him finish there.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Sometimes other people have other issues, you know, and so to be able to address that either through training or additional resources, do you call for a social worker? Do you call for somebody to say, hey, this guy isn't violent, he needs help?
Yes. Or other officers that's trained in that situation too. You know, you can do a lot of things like that. But, you know, like it's just so crazy out here. But the police are afraid to do their jobs because now they're afraid we're going to get charged too. You know, the guy that killed George Floyd, no doubt in my mind, he is toast. But you better believe that's in the back of a lot of cops' mind. And the guy that killed George Floyd, there's no excuse for it. But I've seen good cops do some stupid things when they're stressed out, they're overworked, they got some other personal things going on, and then that one guy is that one to make you snap. And next thing you know, you're choking them instead of restraining them. You're choking them and punching them in the face. But people got to realize cops are human, and we have our threshold too, and we break sometimes. And sometimes it could be that day. So you know what? Today, you know, my old lady done cussed me out. I ain't taking a cussing out from JoJo out here, you know. And it's just real, you know.
That's a fact.
If you want those guys who was trained like I was back in the day, I'm telling you right now, thank God for some of the younger guys. You know, there's a cop named Richard Hauser. I'm just throwing his name out there because he's a younger officer who kept me and another younger officer getting in trouble because we're going to lock this guy up. And this guy was like, we ain't going nowhere. And he was going crazy. And I'm old school. I'm like, if I tell you you're under arrest, I'm ready to take you one way or the other. And I'm getting ready to grab this guy and we get ready to fight. And this young officer said, hey, stop. Oh, wait a minute. And he talked us both down. You need that sometimes. Because I was an old hothead. I was like, oh, wait, you ain't going to tell me no. And this young Richard Hauser, this young cop, he had 20-something years on the job, but he had enough sense to say, wait a minute. He talked me and this other cop down and said, wait a minute, we don't have to do it this way. Look here, bro. You know, you're going to have to allow us to do it. We had a search warrant. He didn't want us to let us into his house. We had a search warrant. So those kind of things.
Along those lines, Ira, you hear the stories of a officer speaks out about a bad officer and then he's blackballed or you know, they don't feel safe talking out about the quote unquote bad officers. How prevalent is that in your mind?
Man, let me tell you something. It's a little better today, but not much. But on the police department, that's the first thing they don't allow you to do. First thing. And I was kind of a rebel because sometimes I was like, how in the hell are you going to tell me I can't talk when everybody else got the constitutional right to talk? You know, I always say police officers shouldn't be subjected to a watered down version of the Constitution. But that's the first thing they tell you. Don't say nothing to the cameras. Don't talk about this. We're not even allowed to talk about things that we're passionate about. We're not allowed to talk about things that's going on wrong in the department. You have to blow a whistle or something like that. That's bred into you. You better not say anything. I got phone calls while I'm doing television interviews from deputy chiefs saying, you better shut the hell up. And I'm thinking like, wait a minute, I'm talking about something that's, I have a right to talk about.
Wait, dude, speaking about that,
I had a right to talk about.
The whistleblower.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
You were a whistleblower. It had to do with Kwame Kilpatrick, Hitmen, and Strawberry Green, and you caught some shit for that.
I caught a lot of stuff for that.
Well, explain what that was.
Vincent Smothers was a hitman that we knew about. He had a whole hit crew. Well, Homicide had a warrant for him on a homicide. Violent Crime Task Force, we were working on the whole murder for hire crew. We were working on the hitmen and the guys that hired these hitmen. Homicide was working on the individual murders. Well, Homicide got this warrant. They asked us to track Vincent and find him for us. So we started looking for Vincent. Once we started hitting houses, Vincent took off and he went to to Kentucky. Him and a guy by the name of Ernest Davis. Nemo, that was his partner.
Vincent Smothers is you're looking for.
Vincent Smothers.
Okay.
And so we started tracking him and everything else, and we started looking for him, and he disappeared. So I started running intel to find out why was his phone pinging going out of the city. And because we were tracking everything. I don't want to give too many secrets away that we can do. But I started doing intel to say, why is he going to this place and why did he stop in this place? So I found out some people that he was associated with. So I started running them, and I found out that the feds and Kentucky local state officers had a task force, and they was investigating this one individual that was connected to Smothers and the other guy that he was with. So during that conversation, while I'm talking to the FBI and I'm talking to the local task force officers, before we hang up, they said, be careful. This one guy is connected to Kwame Kilpatrick. We know it for a fact. We have him talking to him. He's basically gave him the key to the city. But this guy is protected. He's from Detroit. He's doing a lot of dope here. All the hitman and all the guys from Detroit, they come up here and hide out with this guy. But be careful what you say and do because they brag about how they're connected with the police department and Kwame Kilpatrick. I get off the phone immediately and I call my lieutenant, who was a buddy of mine who I got down to violent crimes. Brought him down there because we worked gang squad together. I knew he was a good guy. But once these guys start getting these bars and gold and stuff like that, they kind of lose themselves. Some of them. We got a bunch of great bosses. When I left the department, we had a bunch of great bosses. But some of these guys
stay on point here. Finish the story.
Okay. But the point I'm trying to make is these guys, my buddy says, okay, I'll handle it. And I said, well, let's kind of keep it low because I don't want any trouble, none of that kind of stuff. So I go and I type a report. He goes up the channel. He tells some other deputy chief. Next thing you know, I'm getting a word. Don't turn that paperwork in. Don't say anything to anybody else. Make sure you don't report that information you just got, blah, 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 blah. Don't put anything in writing. So when I hear something like that, you know what you do, right? You put something in writing, right? Because something's going on. Somebody's covering up something. I don't know what it was about, but all I know is I'm not getting involved in that crap. I'm covering myself. So I called the feds and I met one of the FBI agents up at the Starbucks and I gave him my file. But I also gave this lieutenant this document that I had written out of everything they had told me and all the stuff that I knew about this particular case and the connection between Kwame and these murder for hire guys. And didn't know if it's true or not. We were just trying to conduct the investigation.
Right.
And the next thing I know, somehow it winds up in Kwame's hand, and I'm kicked out of the task force.
Oh shit!
And that the actual document.
You know what's
I sued the city afterwards, and during the deposition, Stefani got Ella Bully to admit that somebody brought her the document, and she took it, and she was the one who informed Kwame Kilpatrick.
God damn!
So,
wow.
And I know who I gave the document to. It was to my buddy, the lieutenant, who was the guy I trusted with everything. And I gave it to him. I said, if something happened, just cover me. You know, I was doing what I was ordered to do and everything. I copped this guy out on 9 murders.
What a cesspool. Well, you mean Vincent Smothers.
And then I get punished for copping him out on 9 murders.
Vincent Smothers.
Yeah.
The hitman.
And during the interrogation, Commander Tolbert, who was commander at the time, interrupted my interrogation. I was a really good interrogator back then, you know, and I was a cocky interrogator. I thought I was this stuff, you know, but I was really good. And nobody really bothered me. When they ever asked me to go talk to somebody, they would call me to go talk to people all the time, especially high-profile cases. Nobody interrupted me ever. They knew I had my own little style, my own little gift, and I was patient. So it might be 10 hours into the interrogation before I actually get the guy to start talking because I'd go through these phases of building. So
Tolbert walks into your interrogation. First time this has ever happened. He's like the deputy chief of the department.
Yeah.
He just walks in.
He interrupts.
During the Vincent
and then starts telling me what to say and
Smothers,
what not to say.
During the Vincent Smothers investigation.
Yes.
That's because for the audience, I'll say it. A 14-year-old, he's a special needs kid. Devontae Sanford takes the fall for a quadruple murder, right?
Yes.
Turns out he probably didn't commit it. And Tolbert, it turns out later, perjured himself because he drew the kid the map and then had the kid redraw the map of the murder scene, right?
Yes.
And
they basically fed him information.
The 14-year-old didn't do it. Vincent Smothers did it. And the way they caught him was he told you got him to confess where the gun was that he used to commit those murders.
Right. His wife, I actually got his wife to confess where she had hit the guns, because when he was running and the police started hitting the house, he called his wife and said, take these guns to such and such. So when I got his wife in, I copped his wife out, and she's the one that showed us where she hit the guns. And the guns that we recovered matched the Runyon case.
Why do you think
they still didn't want to let this kid out?
Why do you think Tolbert did that? Did he do it because he wanted to clear a case, or because it was connected to Kwame and the hit crew?
We never got a chance, because what happened was they shut us down. That's the stuff we were going to investigate. We were on our way. I had a team. Me and 3 other guys were on our way. A team of us were on our way to Kentucky. And we were going to brief with the FBI there. And I was going to take a couple of FBI agents going with us too, with DPD officers. And we were going to debrief and see what they had and what we had, and see what the connection was and what all this stuff was about. They shut it down.
Tolbert ended up getting hired in Flint as the chief. He got fired there, but he did bring one interesting little cultural practice from Detroit to Flint.
Oh, boy.
Which is the homicide count fell precipitously because they started labeling them all justifiable instead of just counting them, right? Ira, you know that, right? Cooking those body numbers. We're still doing that.
Can be played with. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of way they've been doing.
How do you hide a body? Jesus.
Gary Brown.
Now, I got to be honest about Gary. Let me tell you.
I want you to be.
There's no question there, just Gary Brown.
Brown is a guy. The first time I met Gary Brown was at Gang Squad. He was actually a Gang Squad sergeant. Very intelligent, very smart, carried himself very well. And I know as he started moving up the ladder, he just changed. He wouldn't even speak to us. I mean, you see him on the, and one day I just really thought he didn't recognize. I've always been real friendly, and I'm the police. I love the police, So I saw him, even though he was, I think he was like a deputy chief or something, but I hadn't seen him in a while. I said, Chief, how you doing? How you doing? Something. He just looked at me. I said, Ira, you remember me? Yeah, I remember you. I was like, wow, this is somebody that was kind of like an idol of mine when he was a sergeant. And these guys, I'm telling you, a lot of these guys, when they get brass, they change.
Well, you know what he's doing now? He runs the fucking water department.
Oh, man, let me tell you something.
Holy shit.
I was doing, the last time he spoke to me, he sent somebody over with a card to ask me to invite some movie stars to a golf outing. Now, he wouldn't even talk to me, but I was doing consulting for the show, ABC show 187, Detroit 187. We was at this big event. He showed up. Now, he don't even speak to me anymore, but he sends a guy by the name of Sidney Bogan, who I respect and love and taught me a lot, over to say, hey, Ira, Gary want them to come to this golf outing and so on. Didn't even invite me. They tell your friends, so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. And I'm thinking like, wow,
I just think people forget.
Yeah.
You got a payout, 2 pensions.
Yes.
Still a paycheck. And let's not forget about narcotics. We won't talk about that today. We'll talk about that unless you want to throw it in there.
No, we're not doing that, Karen.
I've heard those rumors too. I don't know anything about it.
Well, we don't do it. Yo. No. Sorry, guys. We're not talking rumors about people. Not doing it.
Not rumors.
No. I'm just saying there were some things that happened.
Okay, we're going to leave it at that.
Ira, I do want to ask you, because you mentioned Detroit 187. I know you've worked on other, cop shows and movies. You've been even in front of the camera. Most realistic cop drama movie or TV show, in your opinion?
Blue Bloods.
Blue Bloods.
Blue Bloods.
You know what other cop told me was the most?
Which one?
Barney Miller.
Back in the day, Barney was okay, but Blue Bloods. Blue Bloods is real. They got the heart.
Really? Okay.
They got the lingo. They do it kind of right. I'm telling you, Blue Bloods.
Which one has gotten it way wrong?
Well, Detroit 187 actually didn't do real well.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
No,
sorry, dude. That one sucked.
Listen.
They tried.
I was like, And
Dude,
Michael
every
Corleone was-
criminal in that show was a white guy. Like, what fucking Detroit is this?
Hey, Charlie, you guys do crime too.
Oh, a lot of crime, but
Not all of it.
They do it in like Brownstown and shit, man. They're scared to come to Detroit and do it. Fuck.
Yeah. But that show could have developed into a good show. But I think Blue Bloods is like one of my favorite shows.
Hey, Ira, what is the 187 is California penal code for murder. What is Michigan penal code for murder?
You know what? And I'm supposed to know this. Wait a minute. I know it. We got 9,300. No, 9,300 is arrest. 9,330. Nope. That's lunch.
Point something, right?
You said it's lunch.
Yeah, 9,330 I think is lunch. 9,300 is the arrest. I forget what murder is.
911.
No, I forget. It's like I forget. I know it's like a code that you put in when you put it in the computer. But I forget. It's just.
Hey, you're retired. You don't need to know it anymore.
I'm telling you, man. Hey, it's all out there somewhere.
What do residents need to know, and what can they do to try to? Because a couple people have commented, like, this is a conversation we've been talking about what the police department needs and what needs to come from the city to actually make it better for officers and residents. What is it that you want residents to know about what the city can and should do to make things better for everybody?
Well, I think, honestly, and a lot of people might say this little Band-Aid approach, but I think you need more officers. I think you need a lot more officers. I think they should pay officers a decent salary. And then they should teach officers to communicate better. I've talked my way out of fights. The older I've gotten on the police department, the more I learned how to communicate with people. And you learn that, to get somebody to do something, you don't have to slap them upside the head.
Well, guess what, Ira?
If these cops how to communicate better, I'm telling you, it'll work.
Guess what, Ira? You can fucking forget about it. First, there's the defund the police movement. Then there's all the budgets in the country are broken. I'm afraid. I don't know.
But that drives, they say all the budget is broken. They take our pension, they do all this other kind of crap, but they building new stadiums, they doing all this stuff. It's ridiculous.
Do that again. This is for the listener, and we're going to wrap up now. You're the guy in the street. Tell the people again about what they did with the money for the billion.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, they build all these stadiums. They use taxpayers' money to build all these stadiums and all this other kind of stuff. And the only thing that a lot of the residents in the city of Detroit can do with these stadiums is go as work as workers and work part-time, minimum wage jobs. A lot of people from the city that's on minimum wage jobs, they can't afford to go to that stadium. So they build these stadiums with our tax money, some of their tax money, and we can't even afford to sit in those stadiums.
And let me throw one more.
Police officers, but
let me throw this in. None of the stadiums share their revenue. They don't share it with the city for cops. So it's a loser for most of the people. And by the way, the code section for felony murder in Michigan is 750.316, which is not really a sexy title for a TV
That's
show.
Not cool.
Detroit 750.316.
Not the same, yeah.
Well, anyway,
187 is the police code. We have a police code.
That's a police code for fucking California, because that was LA coming in here displaying Detroit. Give us the name of your TV show on Stars.
Stars Wrong Man.
Stars Wrong Man. When's the next this season 3?
Season 3, we're waiting on. We think we're gonna get another season 3, but because of this pandemic thing, we don't know when it's gonna start.
Check it out on Stars. You can find it on demand.
You need to get Charlie on there, Ira.
I would love Charlie on there. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Oh my God! At the round table too.
Wise ass and reporter.
We're ready when you are.
Okay, yeah.
Hey, brother, that was awesome. Thank you for joining us. I love you. I love you all out there. Everybody should try to love one another a little bit more and put down.
Good seeing you, Karen. You are a top-notch person always. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Ira. Much love and respect always. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I love you, Karen.
Love you too, guys.
I'm going to tell my wife I love you. And I know you're not going to do it, but if you can, don't use your gun. Peace.
Yeah. Holla, we them boys. Holla, we them boys. Holla, we making noise. Holla, we them boys. Holla, we them boys. Holla, we making noise. pussy must be serious. Holla, scared of heights, come face your fears. Holla, do it just like Nikki, gone and bend it over. Say she never smoked, I turned her to a stoner. Smoking now. Young nigga, but I'm ready. Oh, foreign girls call me sexy. And white girls give me Becky. But first I gotta roll this joint, baby. Holla, we them boys. Holla, we them boys. Holla, we making noise. Holla, we them boys. Holla, we them boys. Holla, we making noise. Holla, we them boys.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Holla, you drive me crazy. Number one, bitch, you can't replace me. Leader Claudia's always be trying to chase me. You got an ass so fat, let's make a baby. Damn, I'm smoking weed in my Mercedes. Hold up, these niggas broke, these niggas lazy. Man, they money slim, they acting shady. I'm in my brand new car, who wanna race? Oh, you ain't call my phone, so why you showing up? Never. I'm taking them shots on my niggas, they loaded up. Man, on the low, all these hoes be acting so material. Hold up, man, did you see her interior? Hold up, we them boys. We them boys. We making noise. Hold up. We them boys. We them boys. We making noise. We them boys.